Yes, hello guys, welcome to another video today. Uh, Today I'm going to be talking about the FIFA Agent Exam. So most people who fail the exam, they don't know actually the form of the exam. They don't fail the exam actually because they are dull, but it's because they also know what to expect from the exam. A lot of you guys contact me on saying how you guys are frustrated in reading or whatsoever to how to prepare. So I'm going to be helping a lot of you guys handle this situation, as I've done also with some students already who are actually preparing, ready to write already on the 18th when the exam comes next month. So sit around, take a pen and paper so that we can do this all together, and then I'll guide you through what to do. So the problem most of you guys face is trying to memorize a lot of things without a structure. So you see, the exam is an open book exam and also very difficult and tricky to answer, which means they actually set the exam up to try to test your knowledge. So each question has a little bit of trickiness in it. So it's quite challenging exam, and I don't want to say FIFA is making the exam for you guys to fail. No, they actually make the exam for you to understand the rules and regulation, because you're going to be dealing with people, with agents, with football players, multi-millionaires. So they don't want you to make a mistake on handling someone's uh, contract badly. That's why the exam is quite tricky. So it's not about making you fail. So that's the first thing you have to understand this. And as I always say, this exam is an exam that if you have to pass the exam, because being a FIFA agent is really, really amazing. So you have to pass on that exam. So I always tell people, imagine walking to a stadium, Juventus Stadium, sitting there watching a player play, and then the next thing you talk to him and his parents, then you agree to sign him. He plays, you get your own part of the income, you help him grow his career. And yeah, do you understand where I'm going to with this? But this is an incredible opportunity for agents who are not to miss. So focus and work hard on this, because this is your moment. Okay. So let's keep that aside and move ahead. Okay. So with your pen and paper, let's move ahead. So don't also ignore the next problem is, don't also ignore this is a scenario based nature exam. So I mean, this is a scenario exam. This is a scenario exam that they set it up with all kind of tricky situation. So I'll give an example to this. So most questions you see on the revision exam, or on the mock questions, on the mock exam, it's quite, maybe some are basics, but what you'll be facing on the exam is also, you can have some of those questions, but what you'll be facing is, you're going to be facing questions that are bulky, that are lengthy, and they can make it a little bit more tricky, so that before you answer each question, it's already more than 3 minutes. And if you're answering every a question more than 3 minutes, you're already working on a negative side. As I said in my previous video, don't use more than 3 minutes on each question, on a question, because the exam is 60 minutes, 20 questions, which means if you divide that, which means each question has to take 3 minutes. So you have to have a structural approach for that. So the next problem I also see is not most of you guys don't practice with sample questions and with time, using the time, let me say the clock. So normally the way you have to practice is also, you have to use a timer, answering a question, 20 questions for 60 minutes. So that is very important. Okay, and the next thing also is overlooking like the FIFA statutes, the FIFA disciplinary code, and the ethics code, and also the entire structure of the exam. It's already making you fail the exam if you're, let's say, overlooking that. So you have to have a structural approach and also know what to do. So these are the problems also I see most of you guys face. in writing the exam, not because you're not intelligent enough to pass the exam, but it's because you don't know what to expect and the solution, the structure to pass the exam. Okay, let's look at how to tackle those questions, the solutions, and what to tackle in that question, in those things, and those problems I said. So first, you have to understand the exam format. So walking into that exam, you should be very clear on understanding the format. It's a 60-minute exam. I have 1 hour to handle this exam. So that should be already at the back of your brain. The next thing you should be thinking of, this exam is, I have to have 15 out of 20 minimum to be able to pass this exam, which means you have to have 75% pass rate. The next thing also you should be thinking of, okay, this exam, each question has to be 3 minutes. But if I know a question, then I try to capitalize on answering it even for 1 minute, so that the one who are more difficult, I can spend more time on it. So this is how you work on that situation. Each question is long. You know that it's long. Some will be not too long, but the ones who are much easier, answer it as quick as possible and move on. Okay. So this is how you structure yourself. So master core topics like the FIFA Football Agent Regulation, with the FFAR. 40%, about 40% of the exam questions come on these topics. So you should be really knowing the FFAR very well. Next, also, you come to topics like the RSTP, which is the regulation of the status of transfer of players. You should be able to also answer a lot of, know a lot of that topic in your fingertip, to your fingertips, because this is going to help you also pass the exam. So those two topics cover 70% of the exam. 30% of the exam comes from things like FIFA status, FIFA ethic code, FIFA disciplinary code, child safeguard, football tribunal, FIFA clearinghouse. A lot of this topic, they can pick 1 or 2 questions from there. But you still need to also know how to navigate towards those topics, because we all know it's 75% is the minimum pass of the exam. And with these 2 topics, even answering those 70, although if you know to your fingertips, you're not going to say you're going to have all on that. So this is how you handle that. So these other topics, let's take for example the FIFA status. If I was reading the FIFA status, this is what I would do. I would try to know try to go through the table of content of the FIFA status, know the pages. So when I was studying, this is what I used to do. I'll look at the table of content. I'll have a booklet on my hand, working with it with the table of content. And then let's take, for example, I can just sit and say, okay, this is what I'll do. So the FIFA status is on page. I'll go to say, okay, the status. I'll start looking at this. Is what I used to do. The status, the FIFA, the study material start with the status, FIFA status. Then after, you think, what next? Is it the FIFA disciplinary code? You try to master the, how do you call it? The table of content there. You just glance through, always keep looking at the table of content, so that you can know if something comes up, you can refresh your brain and say, is that I saw it at the table of content at the FIFA status. So you look again, another one, the disciplinary code, the ethics code, and then FIFA, the RSTP, FIFA clearinghouse. You go through just trying to also master the table of content. These things helps a lot, because I'll give you an example of what the table of content helps to do. When you are actually in the exam hall, a question can come, let's say, because one thing you need to know the table of content also a lot. A question can come, and that question can be under RSTP. But if you don't know the table of content that question is under RSTP, you go looking for that question at the FIFA clearinghouse, the football tribunal, or the FFAR, because you don't know the table of content. Because this is one thing that many people don't understand about the exam, because the book is bulky. So let's give an example. If they bring something under transfer, when I read that question, I already say, no, oh, this question is under RSTP. Bam, what now? At the back of my brain, I think the RSTP is on which page. Let's take, for example, I was using the 2024 August version. I already know, okay, the RSTP start from 140, page 100, 150 to page 250. That's how I do. Okay, then from there, I go straight to the table of content. From the table of content, I try to locate that. From there, I go now to where I'll find that answer. So you see, because I already know at the back of my head that this question is on the RSTP, I'm going straight to RSTP because I already know the pages. So you have to memorize the table of content and the pages. These are structural, very useful information I'm giving you guys here. That keep note of this. I'm giving you guys this because a lot of you guys also have been on my inbox saying that I'm the only YouTuber doing this. Let me try to come up with situations. I mean, let me keep helping you guys answer this so that you both can prepare for your exam and fast. So I'm also trying to take time to give you guys this knowledge. Although I'm busy trying to do one or few things, but of course I'm here for you guys always. So that's why I'm trying to also give you guys these ideas. So let's pick another scenario also. Let's take, for example, what question can I think of? Let's say, okay, a question comes up like this: How long is a representative agreement? Of course, the question is not going to come just direct to you like this. Let's say, how long is a representative agreement? The answer to that question is 2 years. That's the answer. A representative agreement is 2 years. That's so. But let's take, for example, you don't know the answer. When you say how long is the representative agreement, if you have been going through the FIFA agent, the book, you already know that representative agreement is under FFAR. So as it's under FFAR, what page is FFAR? Is it probably page 283, something like that, if I'm not mistaken, or two something? But let's take, for example, you know the page on your head. You immediately go straight to the page. You glance your book, you go straight to the page, and once you go straight to the page, the next thing you do is you look at the table of content. You look at the table of content on the page, and you look where representative agreement is on the table of content. You try to locate it very fast, then take it. You go straight now and look and read how long it is. So you see how clear it is. Yeah, that you have to have a structural approach on those things, but also I'll be hosting a 2 hours revision class, which is quite cheap for those who couldn't afford for the course I did. So I'll be hosting a 2 hours revision class from the 27th to the 29th. Check the information also. Yeah, from 27 and 29. These we'll be trying to work on all this so that we'll answer this, all of us, in practice, so that you can see how, let's say, we'll make the exam much easier for you so that when you go to the exam, you can pass it. So we'll be taking the questions after we must have done revision from all those topics. We'll be taking a question, for example, and then we show you how you can answer it. Let's take, for example, reading a question, looking at the keyword of the question, and going straight to where to find that question, to this exact place, within less than 3 minutes, so that you can maximize your time to answer other questions. So these are very vital things you need to learn when it comes to the exam, how to answer the question. So let's take, for example, so what the structures you'll be focused on. Let's take, for example, if you're looking at table of content, try to know the table of content of all of them, like the FIFA status. When you have just try to print those papers on your hand. When you're sitting on your sofa, you can just look at the table of content of FIFA status. You glance through. Disciplinary code, what's the table of content? You glance through. The FIFA ethics, you glance through. So just a moment. Let me try to look. I always have, let's say, let me try to look at the study materials here. Let me try to open my study material. FIFA Agent study material. Let me check. Do I have it on my laptop? Yes, let's see. Okay. So let's see. A moment, guys. Okay, I am. Let's see. So let's take, for example, you open the table of content, then let me go. Let me scroll. I'm now actually on the study page. So the table of content of the status, FIFA status, you get like, okay, the general headquarters, the objectives, and all those things. These are always like these are like definitions. Mostly the definition, you can get a definition here. So let's scroll to. I want to find something relevant for you guys. So because most of the status about the definitions and the associations, all those kind of things. So most of the definitions you'll find them there. So they're asking, okay, let's look at the first thing, like dictionary code. So good. This is what I was talking of. So you come to the table of content of dictionary code. And if you are glancing through, you look at the objectives, you always see like the objectives, the scope, and then you just try to familiarize yourself with this table of content. I'm not saying that you read it, just try to know how it is, how the table of content is structured, because just glancing through, you can have an idea. So what I was talking about with the question is, for example, if they give a question that comes under FIFA dictionary code, if you find the keyword and then you know the question, then the next thing, if you come to the table of content, you know from the table of content as quick as possible when you're scrolling through the table of content, you know where to find the answer of that question. But now, what is challenging with the exam is that you have to always know the page number of for example, the FIFA disciplinary code is at page what page? Page 47. It starts from page 47 at the August version. So that's it. It starts. So you have to know these pages off your head. That where can I go straight? So when you go straight to the table of content, you can find your information, what you want to find from there. So that is quite very important that you have an idea of what where the table of content is, because this is going to help you massively that you don't form full during the exam, or you don't get lost because the exam with 60 minutes, when you're under pressure, you start thinking, like, you start getting panic attacks and everything, which is quite normal if you are a little bit confused when you know that, let's take for example, the first 10 minutes you have answered just 2 questions. It would quite be challenging, because the exam also, the way they set the exam, trust me, if they give, let's say if the exam is 1 hour 30 minutes, most people will answer, will have time. But the exam 60 questions for 1 hour, sometimes you do just 2 questions and you discover that 10 minutes is gone, because the questions are lengthy and you want to revise, you want to check your answers if they are right. So the reality is you have to be very focused on what you're doing. So that's how I'll answer those questions, and that's the tactics. So on the revision class, let's say it will be 2 days a week. Let me give a little bit height on it. It will be 2 days a week. Not 2 days a week, I beg your pardon. It will be 2 days. It will be 2 days for 2 hours, and between on the 27 and 29 of this month. So the class it will be like a revision based on all the topics on how to handle or answer these questions on an exam scenario. So we'll actually make it as if it's an exam. Then we'll try to help you guys answer the questions and also navigate the answers rightly. So we'll first do the teaching. I'll first do the teaching part, showing you how to answer the question. For example, how to find the answers of every questions. Then also handling a little bit also how to find materials, how to just read, to be structurally organized to go into the exam confidently. So we're going to break all this down from step by step so that it can be easy for you. Then as I said, the exam it's a structural exam structure. You approach the exam structurally, because if you're not having a structural approach on what to do, the exam is going to be overwhelmed. You are going to be like surprised and shocked, and you're going to have probably a panic, because you're not going to know what you're doing. Because imagine you have been preparing all this time to just come, and within 60 minutes goes quite fast. Within 60 minutes, if you don't write anything, you already forget about the exam. And the most difficult thing about it now is even that the exam is it's once a year now. Before it was twice a year, now it's once a year. And if you fail this year, it's not a guarantee that you will pass next year. So if you want to have a good career out of this, you have to work hard now to, let's say, sacrifice this to be able to make. So one nice thing that I can say about this is when you pass the license, this is what happens. The first thing you know is when you contact clubs and you say, I'm a football agent, you're doing it the right. When you contact clubs the right way, you start to get some respect, because the first thing, when you have a licensed agent and you have the license number, your number, that, for example, you go to a club and say, excuse me, Mr. This, I am licensed agent. You show your license or whatever. I'm licensed agent, and I would like to ask some few questions, blah blah blah. Anything you want to say to the to speak to the club, they give you that respect because they know you're a professional in that field. Unlike when you come there when you are not actually maybe a licensed agent, no one really takes you serious because no one knows that you what are you doing there. While you can come to watch, but you are not really going to do something. So I'll give an example to this. Let's take, for example, when I go to clubs now, when I want to talk to clubs, the first thing, because I have a badge. Where's my badge? Is it okay? Well, the badge I always put on my neck. I have a badge that my license number is there and everything. So when I enter there, they already see that, okay, this guy is a football agent representing players. My picture is there, my badge and my number is there. So like last time when I was having a meeting with the head of recruitment of Coops, which is a football club in Finland. Yeah, I was with my badge, and the first thing when I booked the meeting and I introduced myself, we went to a special room because he knows that, okay, this kind of guest is coming, this someone. So he also needed to prepare. So when we spoke, it was quite mutual and respectful because he was expecting that, okay, this guy actually has a certain level of professionalism. He has been doing this. So I was speaking about transfer policy to them, the transfer strategy. How actually do they handle businesses, and how we could work together in the future. Those were those kind of things we were speaking there, speaking in the meeting. And it was quite really, really lovely because the insight he shared to how they handle players and how they prefer. I remember one thing he was saying is when they're looking players from all over continent, Africa, whatsoever, players from where, Europe, the first thing they also look at the injury record. They look at the injury record of the player. If the player they would prefer to have a player who is an average player, not really average. Let me say a player who is, let me say, 60% good and stays healthy throughout the whole season, than having a player who is a top quality player and never plays games. So he said that's their strategy. They first look at the player's injury record. They look at all these details, his game times, all those kind of information. But injury record is massive for them because they need the players to be on the field when they bring players. So these are all the things that they go into looking. So it was actually a very good eye opener for me. So it gave me an idea that, for example, if I'm trying to bring a player to the club, which we spoke earlier, if I'm trying to bring player to the club, I already know that, okay, someone will have an injury record. I won't be really advancing with that because it won't be a good business. So if I'm looking for a player to take to the club, it will be like someone who is like 100% injury record is actually okay. So I was speaking to him. I was saying, but how do you know this, that if the player has his injury record is bad? What if the player plays in a league that is not really mediatized? Because there are leagues, let me say, maybe if someone is injured, you don't actually show in the system. So this was one of the things we're talking about. But I discovered also that there are also database that search players when they hit your name on your transfer market. That's why most clubs, when they want to sign player, they also look at the transfer market to be very, very important. Because when you give your name, they type it on the transfer market. When it comes through the transfer market, they start to look at like, okay, this player, your game time. Let's take for example, if you played in January, February, March, and they don't see you available, they will try to know why were you not available in the league was going on in April, May. Why were you not available? So they look at this and then they try to make their information, find their information with just various scouts, and you'll be surprised that a lot of these clubs have scouts everywhere around the world. So those are the things, and those were one of the few things, of course, we discussed, and it was quite also interesting that of the level of details that they pay attention. Of course, they have to, because when you're people running football clubs, they are running millions of euros, so they have to pay attention to details, because one mistake of a transfer, it actually disturbs, because you have to pay someone which you're not actually you're paying someone that you don't want him to be there, but you have to pay because you have a contract with him, and the contract it's binding. You cannot rip up that contract. If not, you're going to pay him compensation for that. So this was actually interesting, and also one nice thing that when I ended up leaving the meeting was like we spoke, and I said I'll be doing some interviews with CEOs and a lot of people. And one nice thing was the head of recruitment was like, do update me on wherever you go, and if you can give me information on how those other clubs do their transfer businesses, it would be actually great. Which was a nice thing to also see, because we all learn every day, no matter people are elite football clubs. They also want to get information so that they can improve. And actually, Coops have been really doing, the club I went for to, that Coops have been doing very well, because they won the league last year, and this year I think they're already top of the league this year also. So they are looking forward to challenge also for the league regularly this year, or with the cups, because this year they'll be playing in Europe because they won the league. I think they'll be going for Champions League qualification, something like that. If I'm not really sure, but yeah, I think that's what they'll be doing this year. But anyway, this was just a little bit of information about what I do daily. So going back to the FIFA agent exam stuff. So this is the structure you have to focus on, and then it will be easy for you. But before I go, as I said, I'll be hosting an exam, a mock revision exam for you guys writing the exam, so that you can go to the exam hall 100% confident. So my details are there. You send an information to my email, and also the price. You'll see the price. I don't know if I kept the price there, but well, send an information to my email, and then you can go pay. It's just a little fee for most of you guys, so that you can pass the exam, and then we can. Well, probably then I will also help you on how to locate clubs in Europe. We don't know, wherever you are, because actually I'm on this journey, like moving and speaking to sporting directors, head of recruitment, and next week I'll be expecting a guest. So I won't say it now, but next week I'll be expecting I'll be talking to a very important person, and I will put a picture on my post on my YouTube, the person I'll be meeting. So just stay tuned and also see who is coming up next, the person I'll interview next or have a meeting with next. So, and probably after that, why not other clubs or clubs in Norway? Because I don't know, I love the Norwegian clubs, just because I say there's always a huge part. When you play football in Norway, let's take for example, when you play in Norway, you can live from Norway to the Premier League. You can live from Norway to La Liga in Spain. So that's one market I really like to work also in, like the Norwegian market. I think like it would be a great market to work there. So yeah. Okay, guys. Tomorrow it's another day, so I'm going to give you guys some information and come back tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Let's say 10 o'clock tomorrow, Eastern European time. So try to check 10 o'clock Eastern European time from where you are, and put notifications so that each time I come online, it can be of help to you. So 10 o'clock tomorrow Eastern European time, I'll be here again. So try to turn on the notification, and then when you're here, if you ask a question, we can see how we can answer it if after finishing or what we are doing. Okay, take care guys, and cheers. Bye.